Welcome to this, the fourth of 10 debates presented by the City Club of Cleveland in this very important election cycle of 2008. I'm Jim Foster, Director of the City Club. The City Club has a long and proud history of hosting debates for public office. Whether the race is perceived by the pollsters to be close or whether the pundits consider it high profile, the City Club of Cleveland provides an opportunity for those interested in their government to learn more about the issues and the candidates. And here at the City Club, we go face to face and in depth. And yes, you, the audience, and voters will get to ask questions. Many thanks to those of you who are here and those watching and listening through our webcasts and podcasts. 60 minutes will go by very quickly, so let's proceed. We're delighted to have as our moderator for today's debate, Rick Jackson, host of the public affairs program Ideas on WVIZ PBS, and who is also heard reporting on various programs on 90.3 WCPN. Rick formerly hosted the nationally syndicated public affairs series Village America, and prior to his return to Cleveland, he was anchor of the internationally seen CBS News Up to the Minute broadcast from New York. Rick has been a long-time news personality in Cleveland, an anchor for WOIO and WUAB TV, and back when he began as a news reporter, he was at WKYC TV. Rick, would you come to the podium?
Thank you, Jim. I'm actually delighted to moderate this debate for Ohio Attorney General. I think of the number of times I've sat in those seats, not thinking I'd be up here one day with these seats and these gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Thank you to all of you for being here today. The rules for the opening portion of this debate are: each candidate has a total of 7 minutes for both an opening statement and a rebuttal. It's their choice as to how they will each divide the time. Again, we will hear from each candidate twice in this segment. Opening statements from each, then rebuttals by each, with a total time limit of 7 minutes for each. After opening and rebuttal, we'll move to questions from the audience, then have a closing question for the candidates. Our candidates are the Democratic candidate, Richard Cordray, currently Treasurer of the state of Ohio. The Republican candidate, Michael Crites, former United States Attorney, who is now the managing partner with the Columbus-based law firm of Rich, Crites and Dittmer. And independent candidate, Robert Owens, who has clerked for a federal judge, practiced at a large law firm in Columbus, and served as prosecutor in Sunbury, Ohio. We are very pleased to welcome the audience with us here today. I know many of you support one or the other of these candidates. I do caution the audience that excessive cheering will be factored in and could shorten that candidate's time for a rebuttal or a close. Now, the order of presentation was determined by a drawing a few minutes ago. Mr. Owens will present first, then Mr. Crites, and Mr. Cordray. Mr. Robert Owens.
Thank you for all coming out today. I suppose if you start doing the wave, that takes away from my opportunity to make some comments. My name is Robert Owens. I am independent. In this race, I have not taken any illegal campaign contributions, but my opponents have. In this race, I have not made any political pay-for-play promises, but my opponents have. What we know is the representative of the Democratic Party has received nearly $350,000 from the Montford Will family, who's an executive with Wachovia Bank, in exchange for over $6 billion in state contracts that has been awarded out of the state treasurer's office. I have no such connections. I have not made promises with lead paint manufacturers to accept money to dismiss litigation that's currently pending against them through the Attorney General's office. But the representative of the Republican Party has. And that's the real difference in this race. That's the real difference in this campaign. I represent the people of Ohio. The representatives of the political parties simply put the interests of the political parties first and foremost. And we've seen this time and again. And let me give you a specific example. There is currently in the Attorney General's office a slush fund system. Now, this slush fund is derived when the Attorney General collects back taxes, and last year, according to Ben Espy, there were about $330 million in back taxes collected through the AG's office. Also, when they sue and get a judgment for fraud and get money into the office. Now, you would think that money would go into the General Treasury and would then offset the taxpayer's burden, but that's not what happens. No, the Attorney General keeps a significant portion of that money, can dole it out however they want, no questions asked or answered, virtually no oversight at all. This is pay-to-play politics. And I'm the only candidate on this stage who's issued word one about this throughout this race. And where have the representatives of the political parties been in this process? Missing in action. Haven't made one word about it. And they can't, because this is the mechanism of pay-to-play politics, and it will continue as long as we continue to put party representatives in this office. I will end this process. I have a solution. It's called the Attorney General Robert Owens Community Agenda Action Plan. It is ready to go day one when we get into office. The details of this plan are spelled out at my website, owens2008.com. And what you will see when you review through the issues is that I stand alone on this stage as a representative of the people of Ohio. That's the real difference in this race. My name is Robert Owens. I am independent. I don't have connections to big money special interests. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. We will now hear from Michael Crites.
Thank you very much, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here. Opportunity to address, I think, some of the most important issues that are confronting our state at this time. You know, the reason that I'm running for Attorney General is very simply. I'm running to clean up the mess that was created by Mark Dan. I'm running to reestablish the integrity and public confidence in that office, and most importantly, put that office back to work for all the citizens of the state of Ohio. Now, Nancy Rogers, the current Attorney General, has done a fine job in starting that process. However, she's only going to be in office 6 months. And the mess that was created by Mark Dan, the number of investigations that have been spawned as a result of that, are going to last long beyond that 6 months. So it's very important that we go ahead and elect an Attorney General that's qualified from day one by training, by experience, and by leadership to go ahead and lead that Attorney General's office back to the position of national prominence that it once held under previous Democratic and Republican Attorneys General. Let me talk a little bit about my qualifications, because I really think that in many ways this race is all about qualifications. Who is most qualified on day one to be able to do those things that I just talked about? I'm a Annapolis graduate, retired Navy captain, Vietnam veteran, and I've had the privilege of being selected for command and having served as the commanding officer of eight different units in the United States Naval Reserve. My last command, I helped supervise and lead more than 7,300 people in a unit out of Jacksonville, Florida, that had responsibility for 3 states. The reason that's important is that the Attorney General's office is comprised of at least 1,300, sometimes as many as 1,400 people. We need somebody on day one that can step in there and that has experience in supervising, in managing, and yes, in leading a group of people of that size, 1,300. It's very, very important that we have leadership in the Attorney General's office from day one. If you take a look at what happened with Mark Dan, if you take a look at the advisory report that was issued, you'll find out that the common thread throughout that was a complete and absolute failure of leadership. We need a leader in the Attorney General's office. Additionally, we need somebody that professionally is well qualified. I had the privilege of serving as the United States Attorney, nominated by President Reagan and confirmed by the United States Senate. I had the privilege of then serving in the administration of President George Herbert Walker Bush as the United States Attorney in the Southern District of Ohio as well. I've been an organized crime, drug enforcement task force prosecutor. I've been an assistant United States attorney, a first assistant county prosecutor, an assistant county prosecutor, and a city prosecutor. That's more prosecution experience than the last 7 attorneys generals combined. Let's go back to the United States Attorney's Office, because really the United States Attorney's Office is in effect a mini Attorney General's office. Instead of being at the state level, it's at the federal level, obviously. But the Southern District of Ohio is comprised of 48 of Ohio's 88 counties, 5.2 million people.